You've seen the movie. I'm sure you've seen the movie and probably been asked this 1,000 times. The Guardian.
Yeah, it's ghosties.
Ashton Kutcher.
When Ashton plays your role, I mean, you've arrived.
Yeah. So how accurate is that movie compared to? I mean, I know it's Coast Guard versus Navy.
Well, no. When I went through, it was combined back then.
Okay.
So now it's separate. Yeah, because the Navy rescue swimmers were around before the Coast Guard. Coast Guard, we just have different mission sets, but there's so much overlap.
Right.
They're more on the perimeters, of the water in the U.S.
So it was a combined school at one point.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. So pretty similar. So the movie got it right.
Yeah. I mean, there's always Hollywood involved. Yeah. There's some cheesy stuff there, but yeah, for the training, everything else. I don't remember punching anyone. In the fleet, I did, but not. Sometimes you gotta get someone off your back.
Yeah.
They're trying to drag you down. That's why I call it like the ultimate form of serving others, like in the military, because you are literally jumping out of a perfectly good helicopter in the middle of the ocean, whatever sea state, and someone is in shock and in panic, and they're, realistically trying to kill you without trying to kill you. They're just panicked, and you have to gain control of them, and you have to know all the different ejection platforms. For us, it was F-18s, F-14s, like a lot of legacy stuff. Now it's, the newer generation, but you have to know like all the different, clips and, buckles and everything, oxygen, helmets, because once they're in the water, and they're trying to attack you, they may still have shroud lines or chute still attached, dragging them down as a sea anchor. So there's just all these things you have to know. And the techniques for like life-saving, just understanding, like when I went through, I know they've changed it a lot. We would actually take them deep. So when you take people underwater, there's no oxygen underwater. So they want to get to the surface. Yeah. So now you've gained control of them, because now they may be in shock and panicked. Now they're not trying to hold on to you. They're trying to get to the top, and then you can use your techniques to, pressure points and different things to do your brake holds and releases, gain control of them, and then get them, 70 feet up into the helicopter.
I went to a course called McQuist, Marine Combat Instructor of Water Survival. Mm-hmm. And even with all the special operations training, to me, that was the most difficult school I went to in the military. Probably one of the higher attrition rate schools. And it was, Marine Corps runs, every Marine has to go through water survival training for different levels depending on their job. Mm-hmm. And so every unit has a McQuist. And as an instructor, same thing, students are going to, that aren't comfortable with water, they're going to try to drown you. So you do a lot of the rescue techniques, and it's one of the easiest ways to get a panic victim off of you is to go down, because they want air. So if you go down when there's no air, you go away. So you do a lot of those techniques. What was the attrition rate in your class?
It's around like 40-50%, but that's not necessarily total. So if you have like the original group that goes through, because you'll get rolled back, so it's hard to tell. But yeah, it's pretty high. And then one trainee got killed, a few years prior in the training. So they're revamping everything, and I know one did just a couple years ago as well. So safety is always super important, but stuff happens, and we learn the hard way.
I'm asking a lot of this because I'm not too familiar, and I'm very interested. Like, what's the structure? Like, are you in a rescue swimmer team? Or you a squadron? Is it a collateral duty?
Yeah,
like,
it's a squadron, and it is kind of collateral because we do think of. So I was on an aircraft carrier. I was with the squadron attached to the USS Constellation. When they went out, we went out. Helicopter is always the first and last aircraft to take off and land. Always have to be in the air at night. Might have multiple helicopters, but anything a helicopter does, we do. So rescue swimmer, you always have a SAR asset ready to go. Combat search and rescue. We're working with, other special ops and doing, infills, exfills. We're aerial gunners. And we were using old school M60s that jammed every, 10 rounds. And then we went to M240s. Now they got like mini guns and Hellfire and doing all taking out Houthis. So, anti-submarine warfare. We're dipping sonar, dropping sonobuoys, looking for bad guys out there.
So you're doing all kind of things. And
vert rep,
if you need to.
Holy Helo. We'd bring on Sundays, bringing out the chaplains, hoisting them down to like a submarine or something. Oh,
wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. That's it. So obviously rescue swimmers aren't just used in wartime. People are training. The military trains hard. Fighter pilots train hard. People crash, eject. We see it on the news all the time. During your time, did you have to do any actual rescues, or have to perform your duties as a rescue swimmer?
Yeah, there's a ton of training, ton of search. My squadron, we had F-18 go down. We had multiple man overboards. I never had to go in the water as a rescue swimmer. I mean, I did in rivers on leave during that time. I actually rescued 3 people that just right place, right time. God just kind of puts you there. And you always wonder, like, would they be alive otherwise?
Sure.
And then once we get into mountaineering, I've had more rescues in the mountains just because of that skill set. Had multiple medevacs. We had some, one guy got his eye knocked out from a pipe on a gang war on the carrier. Like, there's 5,000 people on a carrier. There's a lot of stuff that goes down.
Yeah.
Medevaced a guy off of a submarine, had to do an emergency surface. And so, and just called on, major jet airliner went down off of Mexico, launched in the middle of the night, searched, just on NVGs, looking around, last point of entry. As far as we know, never found anything. We had, I launched in the Gulf, it was an Iraqi fisher boat went down, and there was 5 guys in the water. They had been out there for a couple days. Half the crew got eaten by sharks. The other was, when you're in water, you probably know, your skin will deglove. It separates from the bone.
Yeah.
So we don't know if they're good or bad, right? From the Persian Gulf, and when you're in your early 20s, everyone's probably bad. So you're just trying to do the right thing. So we backed off, had the 240 on them. Actually had some Marine Corps come around with Zodiac, a surface rescue swimmer. So the boats have surface. We're helicopter aviation rescue swimmers. Came around, rolled the Iraqis on to the Zodiac. And, still got Marine Corps watching them, got their shotguns on them. Just don't know. They're pretty stoked to be alive. Like, they're just barely hanging on. So it's these, you never know. Like, every helicopter mission is some form of traumatic. My first ever flight out of training school, we hit the water. We're going in for a training, it's like a day SAR. You usually go in 10 and 10, do a jump, back off to 70, 80 feet, and, do the hoist operation, all that stuff. So as a rescue swimmer, we're air crew as well. So we're doing both jobs. You just kind of alternate. And newer pilot came in, boom, hits the water, and we're yelling altitude, and his whole thing is just shaking like crazy. It's filling up with water. Because I was sitting with my feet hanging out the door, cruising, beautiful day. I'm like, welcome to the fleet.
Yeah.
You take off and it's classic, go on in the internal comms. All right, this never happened. Like, okay. So you just kind of like channel, that trauma. It's like the whole thing. We're all so accustomed in the military, just, compartmentalize all the different trauma that you have, because you don't want to be labeled. You don't want to, have to admit that and, be down for flight or whatever your job is. So eventually that stuff resurfaces.